In this session, we are going to deal with the conquest of Bengal. The British conquest of Bengal was a turning point in the imperialism of the British Empire. After conquering Bengal, it has become very easy for them to conquer other areas because the richness of Bengal provided the British continuous resources which were required to conquer other regions. That is why the conquest of Bengal occupies a very significant place in the conquest of India. In this session, we will learn about how Bengal became an independent kingdom, then Black Hole tragedy, which was popularized by the British authorities and British historians, and Battle of Plassey, finally the Battle of Buxar. With this battle, the British have become the masters of not only Bengal but Bihar and Orissa as well. And finally, the establishment of dual government by Robert Clive. So these are the areas which we are going to discuss in this session. The decline of Mughals on one hand and rise of British on the other hand took place in a simultaneous way. The Delhi establishment, the Mughal power gradually weakened over a period of time. Around the same time, the power of British enhanced gradually. The process of the rise of British literally initiated in Bengal. Even though before the conquest of Bengal, this process was initiated in Carnatic region, but the conquest of Bengal really was a turning point in giving continuous resources for the British. Bengal was one of the richest provinces in Mughal India. This richness has provided the British the required fuel for the British to expand in different regions of the country. Let us see how the Bengal became independent under what circumstances. Let us take a sheet. This is the map of India. Let us start with 1707. In 1707, Aurangzeb died. It was a major incident in that year. Now, after that, there was no strong central ruler in Delhi because the successors of Aurangzeb could not handle the affairs of the state. The nobles, they have taken the control of the princes themselves. So in 1707, new emperor came, but again in 1713, a new emperor was installed by the nobles. He was Farrukhsiyar. He could not stay in power for long. He stayed in power only till 1719. And in the same year, in 1719 itself, Farrukhsiyar was dethroned, he even blinded and finally killed. After him, 3 emperors were installed in sequence, but finally Muhammad Shah became emperor of Mughal Empire. He continued to rule. He managed to rule till 1748. Till 1748 he was there. In 1748 again new ruler came. Again in 1754 another one. He was deposed again in 1759. He was deposed. And finally Shah Alam II. He tried to managed to sit on the throne. He was regarded as the emperor of Mughal Empire for considerably long time. Now, this is what happening at the Mughal court in Delhi. You can understand. In 1658, Aurangzeb became the emperor. For 50 years, single ruler ruled the empire. Whereas in another 50 years, so many emperors frequently changed on the throne of Delhi. This is what happening in Delhi. So there was no security, there was continuous instability, and during this time period, the nobles and subedars of Mughal emperor took advantage and they carved out independent states. Whenever Mughal emperor tried to assert himself, they tried to project themselves as the officers of Mughal. If central authority is weak, they, in all practical purposes, they acted as independent rulers. When this is happening, now what would have happened for the fringe elements and other territories of the Mughal Empire? Now we see, in 1724, in 1717 itself, Bengal became independent. The Bengal Shubedar or Bengal governor, he almost in practical purposes, he became independent ruler. In 1724, Hyderabad became an independent kingdom. In the same year, Oudh also became an independent kingdom. Now this is in 1717. In 1724, Awadh, Lucknow. In 1724 itself, Hyderabad became independent. Whereas the central authority is very weak. They were only in name. They were not able to control these officers who are trying to establish their own kingdoms. In 17, the Marathas were becoming very powerful. They became so powerful that in 1737 they attacked Delhi itself. They controlled Delhi, they attacked Delhi. Now, from northwest also one more threat has come. This is in the form of Nadir Shah in 1739. The Persian Emperor Nadir Shah, he attacked Delhi and he looted Delhi. The weakness of the Mughal army was so that Nadir Shah could annihilate the Mughal army in just 3 hours. In just 3 hours, he could decimate Mughal army. That shows the kind of weakness the Mughal emperor is in place. And the Mughal factions, the noble factions were so intense that Mughal emperor became so weak and army also became very weak. Because these independent authorities, they did not send the amount which they had to deposit in the central administration. The amount was reduced from the Shubedars or Shubhas of different Mughal empire. Shubhas of the Mughal empire. Despite this fact, he looted so much, Nadir Shah looted so much, he could take away the wealth of the army, the treasury. In 3 years, he abolished the taxes for the Parisians for 3 years with this amount which he has taken away from Delhi. That's the kind of wealth the Mughal emperor used to enjoy. Despite this fact, they could not maintain strong army because the emperors were very weak and this wealth was being looted and distributed among the nobles themselves. During this time period, Kohinoor was also taken by Nadir Shah. The Kohinoor diamond, the world famous Kohinoor diamond, also taken by Nadir Shah during this raid in 1739. This is not the end. After 1739, one more threat came in the form of Ahmad Shah Abdali. In 1748, he attacked the northwestern areas first. In 1750s, he attacked Delhi. He also attacked Delhi once again. You can see, on one hand, the nobles were declaring independence. On the other hand, the Delhi itself was under attack from different sides. Under these circumstances, the British and French were gaining prominence. So these are the circumstances. Now you can see the British and French were trying to take advantage of this weakness, and they gradually interfered in the internal affairs of these states. In Hyderabad, under Hyderabad, Arcot Nawab also come under Hyderabad Nizam. Arcot Nawab used to represent the Hyderabad Nawab. So literally Arcot area was under Hyderabad. So that means almost Deccan part was independent from Mughal authority. Bengal became independent authority. Awadh became independent. So the eastern side was under different authorities, and in the central, Marathas. They were continuously expanding in their zones. Marathas attacked Delhi also. Now Delhi is attacked by all these powers. Now let us see. Under these circumstances, Bengal became prey for the British. The decline of Mughals was happening at this time, and British also tried to raise their power around this time period. Murshid Quli Khan, he was a Mughal governor first of Bengal, then he declared independence in 1717. His capital was Murshidabad. He ruled for some time till 27, and after him new ruler came. And in 1756, Siraj-ud-Dawla became the Nawab of Bengal. In 1756, it was the year Ahmad Shah Abdali attacked Delhi. So the central government was very weak. They were not in a position to handle what is happening in their respective subas. Suba means the provinces. The emperors were not in a position to know what is happening in their provinces. So in Bengal province, Siraj-ud-Dawla became Nawab. He became Nawab in 1756. Now he wanted to control the British activities. Here in 1717, one more development took place during Farrukh Shiar time period. Bengal became independent. Farrukh Shiar has given firman to English. This happened in 1717 only. According to this firman, English traders can trade in Mughal Empire freely without paying any extra duty. That means it is a kind of free trade. English merchants can import goods from Europe and they can trade in Mughal Empire without payment of any duties. So it is a kind of privilege. It was given to the English by Farrukh Shiar. They were called Dastaks. This firman, this permission was used by the Dastaks in the form of Dastaks. Dastaks means it's a kind of permission letter. Company can show this Dastak to the local officials if they were asked any duty. That means local duties should not be imposed on English goods. It should not be imposed on goods whoever is having this dastak. It was given to the company by Farooq Siyar in 1717. However, this was misused very much that they used to give this permission to the private traders as well. Company officials themselves used these dastaks and they were having their own trading activities. That means if more number of people use this permission letter means more number of people will not pay the duty to the local government, or you can say Bengal government. That means Bengal government is losing the amount on trade duty. So trade duty was lost for Bengal province. Now Siraj-ud-Dowla, he wanted to set this right and he wanted to teach a lesson for English people and he wanted to control the misuse of dastaks. Another one was the fortification of Bengal. Fortification of Bengal means here they were having a fort called Fort William. Fort William was being fortified without taking any permission from the Nawab. That means it is an attack on sovereignty of Bengal governor or Bengal Nawab. If they do any fortification, they should take permission from Bengal Nawab. But without taking any permission from Bengal Nawab, they started fortifying their forts, their settlements. This had angered Siraj-ud-Dowla. And another factor is they were trying to interfere in the internal matters of Bengal politics. That means if British were not in a position to control the Bengal Nawab's decisions, they were conspiring with contenders or opponents of Nawab and they were trying to bring change in the power of Bengal Nawabship. This is happening in 1750s. Siraj-ud-Dowla was so alarmed because he was following the trends in Carnatic zone. Because in 1746 itself, British and French, they were fighting and they interfered in the internal affairs in 1749. By 1750, French installed their puppets in the throne of Carnatic region and Hyderabad region. So in 1750 it had happened. So now it has alarmed the Bengal rulers as well. And now they were trying to fortify Fort William. That means they were going to have one more round of English and French rivalry and they are going to fight in Bengal. In order to protect from French threat, English were fortifying their settlements. So Siraj-ud-Dowla anticipated this and he wanted to control the trading and political activities of these European companies. Then he took action in 1756. So these were the causes why Siraj-ud-Dowla attacked the settlements of English. In 1756, Fort William was seized because it was being fortified without taking any permission. So he seized it in 1756. In that 146, according to one evidence, 146 Englishmen were imprisoned in a small dark room. All but 16 died out of suffocation in the next day morning. So this incident was highlighted by the historians of British. It was an incident. The evidence for this incident was one of the survivors of this incident. This incident was popularized as Black Hole Tragedy. Black Hole Tragedy means there was a dark room. In this very small room, 146 Englishmen were imprisoned. Out of suffocation, most of the people died except 16 people. Holwell, he has written a book called Black Hole Tragedy. Based on this book, British imperialists tried to justify their actions in Bengal. They projected Siraj-ud-Dowla as a dictator, as a monster, and they wanted to, whatever the action or whatever conspiracy they have done against Siraj-ud-Dowla was justified in the name of black hole tragedy. So this is what black hole tragedy. Now Robert Clive, he was the commander of English. Now Fort William was under Siraj-ud-Dowla control. He appointed Manik Chand. Murshidabad was the capital of Bengal. Murshidabad is located here. Fort William is located here. Siraj-ud-Dowla attacked this, and Manik Chand was appointed as the controller of this fort, and he went back. Now Robert Clive came and he bribed Manik Chand. Once again, Fort William came under British control. Now Siraj-ud-Dowla had no option but to again march with the army and to punish British once again. In this way, the Battle of Plassey took place. This is the time Battle of Plassey took place. It took place on 23rd June 1757. Black hole tragedy took place in 1756. After some months, Battle of Plassey took place. But by this time period, Robert Clive not only bought Manik Chand, but the commander of Siraj-ud-Dowla, he was Mir Jafar. Robert Clive had a conspiracy. He bought the commander. He bought other fellow supporters of Siraj-ud-Dowla. British were led by Robert Clive, and he conspired with Mir Jafar, future Nawab of Bengal. Mir Jafar, he wanted to become the Nawab of Bengal. So he was ready. He aligned with the British, and finally in Battle of Plassey, Siraj-ud-Dowla he was defeated, and finally he was deposed and he was killed. Mir Jafar replaced Siraj-ud-Dowla in 1757. The British made Mir Jafar as Nawab of Bengal. After Mir Jafar becoming the Nawab of Bengal, he paid a huge sum in return. He showed his gratitude by giving a lot of amount to the British. Now this is happening in 1757 to 1760. This amount helped British to attack French in 1760. French forces were routed in Battle of Vandivash that took place in 1760. So the major resource came from Bengal. In Bengal, Mir Jafar, to show his gratitude to English people, he paid a huge sum in return. He gave them Jamindari rights also over certain areas. However, he refused to be a puppet, and because of this reason, he was also removed from the throne and he was replaced by Mir Qasim. Before being deposed, he tried to align with Dutch people. By this time period, already French, English, Dutch, they were having settlements. Dutch were also having settlements in Hooghly area. Mir Jafar was trying to gain the support of Dutch because by this time period, French were almost being routed. Now he wanted to take control. He wanted to control the British activities by taking help of Dutch. However, Robert Clive has censored this threat and English fought a battle with Dutch. This battle was called Battle of Bidera. That took place in 1759. With this, Dutch were routed. Mir Jafar was replaced with Mir Qasim. Now Dutch became no more a threat for the British. Now by 1760, you can see what are the developments. They have routed French. They have eliminated the threat from Dutch. Now they controlled Bengal as well. Now this shows the strength of the English by 1760. Now Mir Qasim was replaced. Now Mir Qasim once again gave a lot of amount to the British to show his gratitude to English. He granted Jamindari rights over some more areas. Already Mir Jafar has given some areas. Mir Qasim has given some more areas as Jamindari rights. Now English has got the Jamindari rights. They could collect the land revenue directly from the peasants. In order to reduce the interference day-to-day administration, he shifted his capital from Murshidabad to Munger. Because in Murshidabad, English appointed a resident as a representative of the English. This representative used to interfere in day-to-day administration of Bengal. In order to escape from this, he even moved from Murshidabad to Munger area. Munger is located in Bihar. Murshidabad is located in West Bengal. So Murshidabad was the capital of Bengal Nawab since the beginning. Now he moved from Murshidabad to Munger also. He established a modern arms factory also in that location. Because he has understood the realities of the day, he wanted to strengthen his army, and he wanted to overcome from the British interference. Mir Qasim abolished taxes on the local traders as well. Hostilities built up. Now, after paying a lot of amount to the English, now he wanted to administer or reform the administration of Bengal. Now already trading activities were going on. Now these traders, on one hand European traders, on the other hand Indian traders. Because of Dastak, these Europeans were evading the taxes for the Bengal administration. However, Indians were paying the duties, whereas Europeans were not paying the duties. So it is giving disadvantage to the Indian traders. Now the Bengal Nawab Mir Qasim is not able to control the European activities. So what he has done, he altogether completely abolished these duties. That means duties are no more imposed on the goods. Now whether European or Indian, they can freely trade their goods. Now Indian traders also need not to pay any duty. Now Indian traders can become competitors for European goods. Now this has angered the English people. Now they wanted to replace once again Mir Qasim with Mir Jafar. Now Mir Qasim was replaced once again with Mir Jafar in 1763. Because now Mir Qasim was trying to become independent ruler. He wanted to come out of the influence of the English. For this he even shifted his capital. He was trying to modernize his army, and he even abolished the taxes so that Indian traders also can become competitors for Europeans, so that Indian traders need not to pay duties. All these activities created disturbances in English. Now they once again deposed Mir Qasim, replaced with Mir Jafar. Now Mir Qasim was deposed. Now he became Nawab without any Nawabship. Now he formed an alliance with Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II and Nawab of Awadh Shujauddaulah, and finally fought a battle with British. That battle was Battle of Buxar in 1764. Now Shah Alam II, Shujauddaulah, Mir Qasim were three major Indian powers. Hector Munro was the commander on British side. Finally, Hector Munro defeated this alliance. Now the English became major military power in this area. This Battle of Buxar, Battle of Plassey was a conspiracy, whereas Battle of Buxar was a real army battle, real battle. In this battle, the superior military power emerged victorious. That victor was the British. This has shown the kind of arms, the kind of efficient commanders from the British side. Now Mir Qasim. Meanwhile, Robert Clive returned from England. He made Allahabad Treaty in 1765. In 1764, Battle of Buxar took place. Now Shah Alam II, Shuja ud Dawla and Mir Qasim all were defeated in the battle. Now after that, Robert Clive had made a treaty with Shah Alam II and Shuja ud Dawla of Awadh. This was called Allahabad Treaty. With this Allahabad Treaty, he created a kind of system that is dual government. Dual government means Diwani rights or revenue collecting rights were taken by the British, the company, whereas Nizamat rights, law and order, were conferred on Nawab. That means Nawab should take care of the law and order, whereas revenue collection goes into the hands of the company. That means purse in the hands of company, whereas responsibility is in the hands of Nawab. Now Nawab had to be responsible for the welfare of people, whereas he is not having money at his disposal. He had to depend for money on company. So this is the arrangement. This arrangement was called famously dual government. This diarchy continued till company took direct administration in 1772. In 1765, this type of government came. It was continued till 1772, but meanwhile, so much damage took place in Bengal. In 1770, a Bengal famine, a great famine took place. 1/3 population perished in this Bengal famine. Around this time period, revolt also took place that was called Sannyasi Revolt. Anand Math, written by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, highlighted this Sannyasi Revolt that took place in Bengal famine time period. So this is the kind of impact the dual government had on the population of Bengal. So this is about the conquest of Bengal. Here some explanation is required. From where this Shah Alam II and Shuja ud Dawla came when in Bengal Mir Qasim and English were fighting. Now come here. In 1759, here so many emperors were changing on the throne. In 1759, a noble killed the emperor. He was father of Shah Alam II. His name was Alamgir II. Alamgir II was here in 1754. Alamgir II. Alamgir II became the Mughal emperor. However, Alamgir II was murdered in 1759 by his own noble. His own noble killed Alamgir II. Now he tried to kill the prince of Alamgir II, son of Alamgir II, that is Shah Alam II. Now Shah Alam II, he escaped from Delhi because he was about to be killed. In 1759, Shah Alam II escaped from Delhi. Now he moved towards east. From Delhi, he moved towards east to safeguard his life and also to gain support from eastern governors so that he can take back the throne of Delhi once again. So that is the story of Shah Alam II. So he was the prince of the emperor. His father was killed by his own noble. Now out of threat for his life, he escaped from Delhi and moved towards east. Shuja ud Dawla was the powerful Nawab around this time. He took shelter in the court of Shuja ud Dawla. Now emperor is also located here. Shuja ud Dawla. Now Mir Qasim joined with them. Now they wanted to overthrow the English. They wanted to overthrow English, and now their combined enemies were on one hand Afghanis, on the other hand Marathas. So now Delhi is under threat from Marathas and Afghans on both sides. Now this confederacy wanted to get rid of English first. Later they wanted to tackle Maratha threat and Afghanis threat. But this confederacy was completely decimated in Battle of Buxar by English itself. Now, meanwhile, in 1761, already the Afghanis and Marathas fought a battle, that is Third Battle of Panipat in 1761. With this, Marathas were also routed by Afghans. However, Marathas once again regained their strength. By 1771, they again became so powerful that they reached Delhi once again by 1771. So that means around this time period, Marathas still powerful, Afghans were powerful. Now on the other hand, English were a rising power. Now this alliance, Shah Alam II, the name, only in name he was the emperor of Mughal Empire. Shah Alam II, Awadh Nawab, Shujauddaulah and Bengal Mir Qasim, that formed an alliance and they wanted to fight against English first. But English routed them. Finally, the emperor himself became pensioner of English. This is what Allahabad Treaty. Now with this treaty, Shah Alam II, the emperor himself gave the permission for the English to collect the revenue from peasants. That right was called Diwani rights. However, Nijamat rights were given in the hands of Nawab only. So now the main purpose of the company is to gain profits. They want money. Now they got the Diwani rights. Now they have collected so much rent from peasants. They rack rented the peasants. Peasants became so terrified that they could not left with any savings. Under these circumstances, Bengal famine took place. 1/3 population perished in Bengal. So this is the conquest of Bengal and the consequences of dual government in Bengal. Now we see how questions can be asked in this. Who wrote a book called Black Hole Tragedy? Holwell. Which Bengal Nawab participated in the Battle of Buxar? Mir Qasim. Battle of Bidera was fought in 1759. It was the fight between English and Dutch. Dual government was established with Treaty of Allahabad. Anand Math was written by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. He highlighted Sannyasi revolt of Bengal in this story. Anand Math, it was written by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. So this is about the conquest of Bengal. With this, we have seen the conquest of the Carnatic region or the Anglo-French Wars. Now the conquest of Bengal in this session.